I got loyalty inside my DNA. I got peace, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, I'm a little bit nasally right now. I don't know if you can tell, but it's been too long, so I figured I would just make a quick little video and see where it takes me. Hope you'll enjoy. It's been a long time coming. It's been about 2 weeks. I should have probably recorded this in advance. Did not know I would get this sick. My bad, but I'm here. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's go. Okay, so days have passed after the end of the royal exam, and as usual, Asta is sleeping in his room when he hears a ruckus downstairs. His eyes fling open. He hears the inner cry of Leona's need to avenge Fuegoleon, and the injuries of the only captains who ever tried to treat him well are still fresh in his mind. Quickly, he gets out of bed and he runs out of his room and flies down to find Mario Leona. Who else would it be, obviously? And she has Noelle and Luck by the paws. Fire paws, that is. Meanwhile, Yami is just trying to make sure that she left as quickly as possible. Oh, the princess finally woke up from his nap. How you doing, kid? He, Luck, and Noelle are taken immediately because, they passed. Yami is just glad that she didn't blow up the base. Luckily, she didn't. But unfortunately, Magna didn't make the cut still. So, sorry, my boy. They gather to a confinement within the capital castle. Night after night enters, and if you were lucky enough to be recognized during your battle, then you were here. So if you showed anything outstanding, you were present. And this, of course, includes Yuno, Mimosa, and Klaus. And when they see the bulls arrive, Yuno says, "You're late like usual." What does that have to do with anything? Bell says to shut up, saying that Yuno would take center stage this time no matter what. And at this point, he and Yuno are fighting, they're arguing. And it was so common that their friends were used to it. But this time, Asta was actually arguing back, actively. He takes he and Yuno's rivalry a bit more serious now. Luck honestly thinks it's a riot. He wants to join in, but no one lets him. Soon, almost everyone is here, and they're called to attention by Mario Leona. She welcomes them to the squad. Now their lives were in her hand, so they had to trust her like she would trust them. But she notices that someone is missing. Then her very acute senses warn of an approaching man, and she fires into the air a revolving pillar of flames. Everyone looks up and sees Xerx, the troublemaker from last time. His Runo Ray captures and fires the attack back at her. The lioness, however, readies to destroy the spell, but it freezes and is then extinguished. "Kid, I had that." "Sorry, but he's one of ours." Everyone finally notices that he, Xerx, is wearing the Black Bull robe, which is shocking. He reveals his name is actually Zora Ideal. "Take good care of me." Asta levitates him to the air and pulls him over as he struggles to, break himself free, and he says to let him go, like, "You're babying me, bruh. Promise to stop being a jerk." Says you. He's then dropped before his senior, and Asta says, "Fine, I'll just straighten you out." Remarks that he's never, ever heard Asta say that ever, in that sequence of events. Asta never threatens to straighten somebody out. Yeah, dude, you might be dead. The hell's that supposed to mean? Hey, who gave you permission to talk, huh? The shiver that they all fear when Mario Leona says this straightens them up, and she says that, this is a serious moment. Lock the hell in, bruh. Now, she's made robes for everyone, so they should all hurry and change because these robes are very important. They're enchanted and will keep everyone safe. Everyone gets in a single file line and enters adjacent to a room that was basically to their left. After getting these robes, Nozel will show himself. He's been appointed to this squad, and this really fills the squad with confidence. For Noelle, though, it feels kind of like a trial because she's still trying to earn her siblings' respect. However, now that all the knights have gathered and they have everybody, they head to the Gravito Belt. Now, Mario Leona is a very simple woman, and she knows that this ragtag team put together wouldn't be organized, so she just orders them to cause chaos because they're going to anyway. And so they bust into the hideout, causing nothing but chaos. Everyone had a team of at least 3 or more. She herself was with Asta and Zora, and they crash into the dungeon as well. When they rise up from a hole they burrowed through, and they begin to run down a hall, it's filled with darkness at first, and there's just a bunch of magic flowing around because the gravito belt is a grand mana zone. But after just a few paces, they found enemies waiting for them, 3 mages. Leona and Nozel share the same thought at this point. The main reason they came here, it wasn't to actually fulfill the kingdom's freaking, objectives. No. They came here for revenge. For Leona, they hurt her little brother. She's kind of annoying, but she cares a lot about Fuegoleon. And Nozel, that's his rival. You fucked with his rival. And immediately, this shows their first spell is extremely filled with ferocity, and they destroy everything in their way. Asta and Zora just follow Leona, and Zora is just shouting, asking why they're even here, because she clearly doesn't need help. Asta remains silent, only flying ahead, and Zora realizes that he's not gonna talk. Like, Asta's just ready for battle right now. He is in that mindset. The other teams would battle and exit their tunnels into open spaces in the area, where within they find these floating blocks sustained by the magic in the air, because again, this is a Grand Mana Zone, and the mission was just getting started. Now, in their path, our group, Asta and them, another horde of hooded mages come at them. Leona leaps, about to stomp them, but Asta flew below her, spinning forward like an arrow. His grimoire grows and then took 5th form. And using a move he calls Skewer, he creates 4 blades which fire out and pierce them into walls before another one fires far ahead. Because he sensed an enemy far ahead, like he saw an enemy hiding, trying to hide their presence at least. But the blade struck into the ground and didn't hit anything else. It didn't hit anyone that he thought was there. Leona will land, and she feels as weird about this as Asta does. And Zora feels weird too, because they also definitely felt a presence up ahead. Oh, kid. Oh, come on. When she looked back to Asta, she suddenly saw that there were 2 of him, and so did Zora. Both Astas look at one another, and Leona would ball up her fist, ready to fill the hall with flames, just as Asta would smile, realizing who this was. From outside the tunnel, we go into an open space, and from the tunnel, flames would erupt, sending out Raya, who lands on a block, only to barely dodge a flying double-edged spear, or double-headed if you want to say. It scratches his cheek, and he leaps aside as he begins to feel his body petrify, but a slit opens on his forehead, disrupting the effect. Just then, from the veil of smoke and debris, both Asta and Leona fly out and swing using their Cardios Brachium and Void Strike respectively. As he's forced to block both strikes, he's set ablaze and feels his insides churn, but knocks them both back. He readies a Blade of Light right after and Darkness, and swings using the spell Blinding Cross. Asta notices that his magic had evolved, changed. The Guardian Bear appears and catches the attack before crushing it with 4 of its 6 arms, and it snarls and its mere shout shakes the air, with Raya just laughing. He says that he and his comrades haven't just been lazing about, but Zora shouts that he literally shouldn't even be alive because he's been reported as dead. Asta says, "I saw you. I felt you die. Why would you do this?" Leona knows he wants answers, but says that he has to leave this guy to her because he's needed elsewhere, and they need to split their forces. Asta takes a moment and has his guardian then grab a hold of Zora and fly off, and obviously Zora does not like being carried around like a kid and he has to be put down. But Asta begins to leave, only apologizing to Raya, who looks at him confused, but Asta doesn't explain why he said that and just goes away. The elf simply chuckles. "So, it's just you and me, huh?" Spears of light bombard into existence and fire forward, and with the flaming punch, Leona burns them and she blitzes forward, appearing above him. Raya is caught off guard by her sheer speed, but manages to use transparent magic, turning intangible as she swings through him. He then moves forward and reappears. And the moment he does, like a beast, Leona would just use her bare instincts and twist her head in his direction and move in, striking with the Cardios Brachium, only to suddenly be socked in the face herself and be sent flying into a block. But that punch, the way he did it, it felt familiar. The magic felt familiar. I'm guessing you recognize it. I finally understand what that kid's magic is. No wonder he didn't stand a chance. Yeah, Raya touched Asta's grimoire, and he copied his magic. However, because Asta's abilities are far too numerous, he got the base power of Disaster, allowing him to amplify his own magic, physical strength, and damage, and reduce damage done to himself, but that's all he gets. no ability over Chastaful or the ability to manipulate plants. However, he didn't know that he was fighting a Psycho. Using her Monozone, she faces his Monozone, and she unleashes an onslaught of flaming blasts while she herself is barraged by light spears. And as they hit, they barely char but do tear her skin. And Raya experiences the same, as he's not able to use Disaster with the same control that Asta can. It looks like a really easy ability to use, but it takes a lot of control over knowing what to like halt or like stop the. It's really tough to explain, but basically he never grew up with Disaster as an ability, and like other, unlike other abilities, other magic attributes, it's very hard to use. Now, all while this is going on, Merleona was literally just getting more and more fired up, and Riot really wondered if this woman was human. I think we all wondered that. Now while they fight, Rades and whoever was captured by the Clover Kingdom is freed. It's the trio. So Rades, Sally, and Valtos. This allows the second team of the vanguards of the terrorists to attack the Black Bull base. This means that Valtos, Sally, and Rades are back in action. However, instead of finding Asta, they meet Gordon at the base, obviously, and Great and Gauche. Now, all the events, as misconstrued as they are, and as random as they seem, Riot coming back to life, and, all that's happening, this was all kind of random, but foreseen by one man, Julius Novachrono. He stands atop the highest castle of the kingdom, overlooking everything, as if waiting for somebody. Then he feels a presence and looks to his left. He sees William. "You wanted to talk?" asked Julius. William took a moment and thanked him for, taking him in, as he would take off his mask, showing his curse. And he never really shows his face to anyone else, well, aside from Yami. And they were talking during the attack of the Diamond Kingdom. And Julius was obviously used to it. "You gave me this mask when I joined, and I owe you everything. My life, my squad, and I climbed so high. I didn't do much. I'm getting kind of embarrassed. But it's true. Everything I did, it wasn't just for those who I'm responsible for now. Not just them, but for you and for my oldest friend. Aside from you. Should I be jealous?" What are you trying to say? "I'm sorry, but this decision that he's about to make, my friend, I don't have a choice, and I'm just in the middle of this. I couldn't choose. I could never choose between you two, so I'm sorry. I'll have you two choose for me." His skin and hair begin to change. His face becomes fairer, his hair golden and long, stretching past his shoulders until all that remained was someone else, licked. "Thank you, William. Julius Novachrono, I finally meet you. I'm Licked, leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun." "Well then," says Julius, "I really hope this wouldn't have to happen." Now back at the Gravito Belt, while they're on their way, Zora and Asta, Zora noticed that Asta was just kind of like perplexed. He looked kind of worried, and then Asta suddenly went back towards the fight, and he asked why. Asta said that the man was planning to kill himself and take Leona with him. "Can you feel it?" "I can now." "So why are we heading towards it?" Just then, they exit back out into the open space, and, still caught up in the battle of magic domains or whatever, Raya is about to explode himself, and suddenly both of their spells, their mana zones, freeze. They're both confused when Asta suddenly flies in through with his wings and gut checks Raya, telling him that he cannot do this. As he begins to fall, their mana zones unravel, and the magic which created them would wrap around Asta before fizzling and merging into his wings. They then explode with light and magic, and the Guardian finally drops Zora because, Zora was really telling him, like, "Hey, let me go, bro. I am not a kid." And Asta flies down to Raya. "Why would you do it? Why would you come back to life to kill yourself? Tell me." Now, Raya is cynical, so he assumes Asta doesn't actually care and is just acting out of anger. And Leona says that trying to empathize won't work here. She says they need to stop this sentimental crap and kill him. "You stand in my way, I'll fry you too." "We both know you can't. I won't let you. Not until I hear what he has to say. We should be able to understand each other." Yeah, says the one who killed them prior. Now, Asta won't deny that. He did it. When he did it, though, the horrors that he saw made him think differently when he faced Fauna. It made him empathize, and Raya wonders if he saw the elf massacre. Asta says that he always wanted to be dependable, and there's no way that he'd ignore people like them. Commoner, peasant, royal, noble, human, or not, it doesn't matter to him. That's how it should be. That's how it should have always been. Trying to become Wizard King or something? When she says this, Asta's eyes widen, and he realizes that if he wanted to help people in the fastest way, it would be to become Wizard King. And he says, yeah, I guess I am. The notion of this shocks both Zora and Mereoleona. When usually declares it, it sounds just as crazy. But when it comes from Asta now, it sounds even more momentous because he's never really cared about such a role before. And now he's declaring that he wants it. And a mere peasant who has the power that even royals could only imagine now wants to be top dog. Raya, as shown before, can see through lies. So he knows Asta hasn't told a single one. He truly cares. Honestly, he's kind of glad, but it's too late. Their plan was coming to fruition. Meanwhile, we go to Yuno, Belle, Mimosa, Klaus, and Hamon. After defeating many enemies in their path, well, more so Yuno doing this with his overwhelming power, they find a flight of stairs. They run up along it into a room. Then they enter and they find something bizarre. Elsewhere, Licht and the second vanguard have returned to that very cave where Julius first saw the leader. Now, as for Julius, well, you know what happened to him. Valtos notices a tear from Licht's eyes, and he asks if he was okay. Licht wiped the tear and said that it was not his own, and he didn't do it of his own volition. And he says that he's alright. Then he approaches this stone tablet in the middle of the area, and it was lined with magic stones. All he needed was one more in the middle, and Licht stole it from his last battle, which killed Julius. Finally, all the dreams are about to come true. Sadly, well, you know what's about to happen to these people too. But, they have hope for now. Sally would be able to experiment and just find out more about magic. Radius could shove it to all those pompous knights, and Valtos could have a purpose in this new world that Licht was creating. Yes, you've done excellent work, says Licht. Now we can build a country based on our thoughts, our philosophies. Well, that's what the leader of this organization would say. Now you'll be hearing my true feelings. Working with you all has only made me realize how much more detestable humans are, how greedy, monstrous. Now, the humans became a little bit more wary. They think this is a joke, but Licht meant every word. He sees how fickle they are and how they hated and despised other humans for trivial reasons. But then you found me. Vato says that, yeah, they found him and he gave them purpose. But Licht thinks differently. He thinks that he gave them validation, an excuse. They clung onto him like parasites in his opinion. But now their role was over. The tablet erupts with magic as he puts in the last stone. And as it turns out, that cave is coincidentally, close to the demon skull that was near Hodge. Oh my god, fate. But yeah, from that skull in the Forsaken Realm, in the Forsaken Lands, enormous magic radiates and spreads. And in that same instance, the man that was in that sphere of mana would erupt with magic as well, blinding Yuno's team. Though he could barely make anything out because, he couldn't see shit, Yuno and them see him fly out of the sphere. Now, this man, he doesn't exactly look alive. He looks like a doll because obviously Licht still hasn't awoken fully yet. He kind of remains suspended in the air, but then that sphere will just disappear. They just frazzled into the air. Klaus, and Hamon are affected by the reincarnation spell, but Mimosa isn't, and now she had to face them in battle, which is not fun because is broken, but luckily is also in the same state as Licht. It's not just them though, not just the people in the Gravito Belt. It was peasant, commoner, royal, all across the Clover Kingdom. People began to erupt with this golden magic, and for a split moment, that mana from each of them would erupt into the sky, almost like beacons before fading. And friends became foes, and this includes members of the real knights, obviously. Asta's team takes precaution as Raya swells with even more power than before, and as he rises, Raya takes his true form. His face is marked and his ears become long as his magic is finally back to what it truly used to be. As a mage, Raya was already monstrous, and now his magic wasn't even human anymore. Maybe it's because I've always been a liar myself, but I always know when humans are lying, or when anybody's lying in general. But you meant it, didn't you, Asta? It actually moved me. That's the sad part. He moves forward into a portal of darkness he creates, which suddenly would then multiply, surrounding everyone, well, the three of them, with multiple of these portals from everywhere, and from these portals, beams of light fire. With this pollen garden, Asta shields them with ease, but these rays of light only continue to fire, aiming to grind down the shield. The shield not only holds, however, but continues to grow as it rises into the air, lifting them up. Leona's point proves itself by this point. She says that trying to find peace led to this. From above, Raya suddenly then drops and the light beams would cease. In his hand he holds a sword of light and strikes, shattering the pollen garden. He then proceeds to thrust, but this is blocked by Leona's fist, shocking the man, and he cannot believe that she's still keeping up with him. While she keeps him back, Asta speaks. I've been thinking about something. Oh yeah, go on while I'm shielding you, you little shit. The way you talked like you're not human. You're really not. You're like me. We are nothing like you. Oh, that's why I emphasize the word like. Because you're not a fairy, are you? You're elves. Isn't that right? The shattering pieces of the garden reform and then tighten around Raya at that point, cutting off his concentration. His sword of light then shatters, and Leona would then kick him in the stomach, just as the pollen garden is unraveled. He's then thrown into the ceiling, and they ask him what Asta meant by elf. I mean elf. You saw the ears, right? Also, I can clearly read his heart now. However, their battle wasn't over with. A crash would break the wall, like they just look to their left, right? The wall is destroyed, and from it they see these 8-headed hydra. And atop a certain head stood Rill, who didn't even look the same. He was very mad at them, and it was clear that he was compromised. The serpents lash forward, swinging about, forcing them to dodge, and while they do so, Asta explains that his mind has been dominated by another ego, another person. The serpents then begin to fire different types of magic, and at that point, Raya would recover and land beside Rill, who refers to himself as Lyra, so I will refer to him as Lyra for the duration that he's possessed. Lyra hugs him with tears like a child because, well, he basically is one, and he is a murderous one, but still. But while they're having the little moment, because it's been a while, suddenly the two feel something is off, and they look down to see the serpents have been beheaded, and Asta's wings begin to flap as he's surrounded by hundreds of blades. But they just don't stop popping up. More and more and more are created, filling the elves with horror. Give us back our friends. Even as someone who has just returned, right? Lyra can feel the power this boy has. It's just immense. He is not human. And from above, 3 more elves drop, crashing through the ceiling and turn scared as Asta looks up. The blades would pierce the air and strike their bodies into the walls. And using Vine Trap, a spell from one of the parts, if you haven't seen this before, go and catch up again. His blades would grow vines that seep into their bodies, stealing their magic and filling Asta with it. And it increases his mana tenfold. Asta says that they seem to have the wrong idea. They're not trapped in here with the elves. Rather, you're all trapped in here with me. Miss Leona. Into her mind, he beams a message and she cracks her knuckles, ready for battle. And the blades would drop onto the floor, creating a field of grass which empower Leona. She feels her magic rise and rise, but this spell was different. Along her body, runes resembling Asta's wing pattern begin to line her skin as she revs with just way more magic and leaps towards Lyra and Raya. Meanwhile, Asta and Zora would leave, and he creates 2 brooms for them to ride along on. He copies William from seeing him do so during the exam when he first wanted to be a knight. And Zora says, "You could have offed them." "Wait, it's you we're talking about. But you left her in there with them?" "I believe in her. She'll win." "She's nicer than she lets on." "Yeah, highly doubt that." Asta says that they need to go to the center of the dungeon, however, because there's an even bigger enemy there now. And honestly, at this point, Zoro's like, bro, how the hell can you feel that? Because the dungeon is like massive in scope. Like compared to the scope of the entire labyrinth they're in, they're like ants. And this guy can just pinpoint certain areas. It makes no sense. Now, while he's thinking about this intensely, Asta says, "I really don't want to sound annoying. I know because I'm a genius." "Did you just..." "Yeah, I read your mind. Sorry, it won't happen again." "You're lying, aren't you?" "Yep." Asta did leave out one detail, however. At the center of all that power, right, he also felt Yuno and Klaus and Hamans, and they were possessed. But there was Mimosa, whose life force was declining. Indeed, it was because after seeing one amongst the ranks with, no elf within her body, that she was, kind of close to death now. They kind of attacked her. They jumped her ass. She was imprisoned almost immediately by a combination spell, holding her on a steel cross surrounded by glass shards. They really went all in on the presentation. And she begins to, beg to be freed. They don't even see her as a living being at this point, though. She's just vermin. And it's made worse by the fact that she's a royal. She has royal blood. They are the mortal enemy of the elves at this point. But there was something wrong. They looked to Yuno, who had stayed quiet this entire time, unmoving this whole time, as was his spirit, almost as if he was processing everything. Just then an explosion would occur, and looking to their left, they see Asta and Zora arrive. Before they can even attack, though, they're pierced by his blades into the walls, and the vine trap spell takes hold of them, and they go to the prison. They destroy it, get down Mimosa, and as she's dropped, she's caught by Zora, who slides in. "How's it going, teammate?" She thanks him for the save, obviously, and the elf inhabitant Klaus speaks, asking why they would embrace criminals to stop them. Asta ignores him right now because it's tough for him to, talk to Klaus like this, but he knows that's not Klaus. Then he approaches Yuno, and though he hears him, Yuno can't respond. Asta is someone who has shown that he can read thoughts. In moments of stress, people's thoughts flood his mind instead, and this puts him on edge sometimes. He's actually hearing it right now. That and his nature, as a person, just who he is, makes it a really bad mix. Mimosa was literally begging for them to stop trying to kill her, and they didn't even listen. "You hurt her. I'm way too pissed right now, so I swear to God, if you don't wake up, there's a very big chance I'm gonna knock you into next week, Without her voice, he resonates with Yuno's heart as he and Belle would react. His mana erupts as he returns, annoyed by how loud Asta is, but Mimosa is glad to see that he's okay. Now the elves are confused, but ask for Yuno's help, and obviously Yuno says no, and they blame Asta, calling him a royal, but he's not, and says that he's not. They obviously can't believe it. "You're lying. You expect us to believe that you're not a royal, and yet you have all that power, despite being just..." "Wait, no. Those wings. But it's just a fairy tale. What connection have you to the fairies?" Asta says that he doesn't know, but they need to get out of their friends' bodies right now. That's the main thing that he wants them to do. Like, stop all this chatting, bro. Get out their body. That's kind of Diddy's behavior, bro. The moment he utters this, though, the man who stayed suspended this entire time begins to descend. His elven brothers look at him, and he looks at them. Though he cannot show rage, as he's not yet complete still, he knows what he must do. And the amount of magic that he holds is criminal. It doesn't help that waiting at his foot, ready for him to take, is a grimoire. Yeah, in this version of events, Licht has his grimoire, the very same. And upon recognizing its master, the book rises, shaving off its dust and old appearance, showing itself to be a four-leaf grimoire. The brothers get on guard, but before they knew it, both had their blades swung for their necks. But before they even knew it, both brothers had blades swung at their necks. Sways back while Asta blocks with his bare arm before knocking back the massive demon destroyer. Fifth form increase is released, and Licht dodges left, then right. He then swings down, deflecting another blade before taking further into the sky, and he's chased by hundreds of these blades. And amidst this, appears above him, now assimilated with Bell. At point blank, he shoots a Spirit Storm, and since this attack is, so powerful, it should be his end. But without even looking back, he points the Demon Dweller behind and absorbs the attack. Barely blocks with the Shield of Notos, and is slammed into the wall by the slash, which releases the very same spell he himself used back at him. He breaks through layers and layers of rock as he coughs up blood from internal damage. This version of Licht is at least 100 times more powerful because his grimoire was recovered. In the other timeline, Asta got it and it became the anti-magic grimoire, but Paltry got it back with no trouble this time. This also means that something else happened to Asta's significant other, which you will find out about later during this arc. I know you've been wondering about it. Now regardless, suffers major damage, but the swords continue to chase Licht, who himself then matches Asta's energy and creates hundreds of swords. They collide with Asta's and go back and forth, and since they're both so adept at using this type of magic, each blade in the air would be facing another specific one, all in an attempt to reach their target, but neither side is budging. Asta's friends don't know what they're watching, as within these colliding storms of blades, the two had begun a battle. The elves are just as shocked. Asta was matching Licht. No, not matching, but he was trying to hold his own. Asta's bare fist would collide with the sharp edge of the Demon Dweller right as he swings his leg, striking at Licht's side. However, it's blocked, and he's then slashed in the torso. His robe is torn open, allowing for us to see a wound, an actual wound. However, a twinkling light blinds the elf as his cheek is then slashed, with him barely dodging to the left. As they continue to fight, Asta tries to use his spell to get through to him, but it doesn't work, and his wing moves, blocking the strike of a sword. Asta's blades then dispel, and immediately all of Licht's weapons converge on Asta as they plunge into him and take him to the ground, causing cataclysmic damage, similar to Yuno's impact. Maybe even more. No, definitely more. From the crater, Yuno still tries to catch his breath, and he hears Bell in his mind telling him that he has to get up. So, forcing himself out of this crater, he takes flight, and he catches the attention of Licht, who swings, throwing slash after slash of light. As he swings, Yuno conjures Zephyr and slices through his attacks before holding his hand out. Multiple spirit storms fire from all around at unprecedented speeds, only to be banished into the ether by a rotating swing of the massive Demon Slayer. Oh yeah, Demon Slayer, not Demon... I'm an idiot. It's Demon Destroyer. You know what I mean. Then that Demon Destroyer is thrown at Yuno. However, before he's struck, Asta appears before him, catching it. Come on, keep up. You're slacking too much. He tells him to focus or his spot of Wizard King will be stolen. Yuno pauses and asks him to repeat that. Pretty sure you heard me. Now, after he hears this, he goes into a flashback, because of course he does. And in this flashback, it was a dark night, snow dropping, and it felt like it was never going to stop. He and Asta were being, aggressed by this drunk guy, and as he chased them for Yuno's pendant, Asta shields Yuno with a look of anger, telling him to leave them alone, but he doesn't listen. The man stumbles forward in a drunken mess to reach Yuno again, but Asta grabs his arm this time and throws him aside. This isn't exactly strength you would expect from a kid, obviously, and certainly not one of Asta's nature because he is small. As he helps him stand though, Asta also wipes Yuno's tears and says that none of what he said is true, that they're not just street rats and they're not just useless. And Yuno asks how he wasn't scared. Of course I was scared, but fear? Fear is a superpower. Super useful. You just need to learn how to use it. A mage possessing a 4-leaf holds something others don't. Overwhelming luck and blessing of mana. And when that power is spurred on by the words of a rival, ooh yeah, you get something crazy. Spirit assimilation increases in that instant, giving even more power, as Asta would chuck aside the sword and it flies back to Licht, who catches it and readies for battle. The guardian bear makes his entrance again, clocking him towards the ceiling. And as he flies towards the ceiling, he sees the two readying an attack, and says that Asta wasn't going to become Wizard King because he was. Both shouting at the top of their lungs begin to unleash their power. And as Asta's wings brim with magic, he gathers light in his hand and he uses the power of Sunflower without directly summoning it, and uses Disaster, thus amplifying this attack by so much that when releases a Spirit Storm, they combine and become this ultra massive attack. Licht releases a blast of his own, throwing them back towards the floor, however, as their attacks clash. And their attacks continue to clash, but with passing time, it's as if he's getting stronger and stronger and they're getting weaker. Their struggle against this attack just inches them closer and closer to the floor, where Zora and Mimosa are in the way, and they're about to crash into them. But however, the two then get a message in their heads, so Zora creates a magic circle below them, and everything goes white from the moment he does, like he's blindsided by a storm of magic. The attack then tears through the bottom of the gravito belt and crashes into a nearby lake. Luckily, the group resurfaced, a bit tattered to say the least, but they're okay. Thankfully, there are no major injuries, and Asta drags them all out with this telekinesis, so they go to the shore. But the dungeon was heading towards the Chloric Kingdom. Same as the original. Everyone begins to gather, people meet up, but Merleona is here this time, fully conscious. Along with her are Nozel and Armory Guard, who shakily waves at them when they meet up. And they said that, their teammates have been turned to elves as well. Something which still feels weird to say out loud, honestly. Then Noelle arrived with her cradle, holding Kirsch alongside her, and she points out Yuno's new appearance. Yuno didn't know why he was like this either. But Asta answers, unlike the others, the ego within Yuno is too immature. When they ask what that means, Asta says that Yuno holds the soul of an elf that is barely a toddler. He might as well be holding a baby in his soul right now. So don't disappoint the kid. Oh, give me guilt. Nice. But he does promise to, not traumatize the kid by his actions. Then they heal and head out. Now at first Merleona brought up that the only way possible to win this would be to kill their own people, and she's like that. But Asta says that there's a chance to help them because he has interfered with reincarnation magic before, like he did with Fauna, so at least they have some hope. With her command, they are risen into the air by a silver carpet and begin to travel towards the capital. And a few moments pass, then they would near the demon skull. It is under attack, and upon seeing this, both Asta and Yuno turn pale, saying that that's their home and they gotta go save it. Nozal disagrees, as they can't just drop everything and go save one village, but the two of them can go and resolve it real quick. So he allows it. As long as they hurry up, because they really will not win without their help. And he even says this, which is a lot, because Nozel is really arrogant most of the time. As they salute, they promise him to hurry up, and Noelle says that she'll go with them, but Nozel says no, because she is a royal and she needed to come with him. It's been the first time in 15 years she had ever been acknowledged in any way, and Mimosa could see how much it moved her. Dashed on ahead, and Asta leaps off next, and he tells that he'll catch up, but he takes a moment with Noelle and tells her that she has to make sure whatever she faces, she will win. She nods and he follows after, and catches up. The moment he does, they move down with even more ferocity and start to get a better view of what's going on. And Asta, after everything he has been through, there are things that he never, ever wants to happen, and he swore to never let them happen. That is definitely included the death of his own family. The same events occur with Nash trying to protect Lily from the vines of the elf-possessed knight, but just in time, the attacks are deflected by two mages who land right before them. Now, there's something that happens when one grows up with people like Asta and, people who exceed the normal. In your eyes, they might start to resemble something that can't exist. And just the sight of their backs it just left Nash with this sense of peace. And yes, Asta has changed, but one thing that will never change is the feeling of his mana. It's warm to him. Good job holding out, guys. Leave the rest to us. They face the elf as their mana would erupt, and Asta stomps as he rises a great tree. It purifies the poison corroding the villagers, who sit up almost immediately. They realize that they were okay now, and they see the two boys are back, but with new looks. Especially Asta, who had massive freaking wings and had a huge growth spurt. Had pointy ears and a little lady on her shoulder. It was just a lot to take in for them. With this crescent, wind sickles, shreds incoming vines as Asta summons the six-armed guardian. It rises from the ground, grabbing hold of the elf. No matter how much it struggles to get free, the elf, they're people. I'm joking. Yeah, he struggles to get free, but cannot. Mind you, the guardian is so gigantic now that it holds the elf like an ant. All of Asta's chastiful forms never truly show their true size, as it can get in the way. But out here in the boonies, it don't matter. Now, the poisonous plants that the elf laid out slowly fade, and the elf shudders, asking why hadn't changed. Asta tells him to shut up. I'm thinking. As he floats on over, he observes the elf, looks at him really close, like truly observes him, and the villagers begin to encircle. Lands down with them, and they run over hugging him, and everyone takes the chance to celebrate. With them two coming back to the village is a big deal. And the little siblings ask Asta, when he got wings and what's going on. And then he speaks into their mind, telling them when he got them. And this is something else that's just kind of crazy. It surprises them. They all tell the adults that they hear Asta's voice in their heads. Asta looks back saying, yes, you did. With a smile, he flies back down, and it's unreal how much he's changed. Posture, voice, tone. The very air around him carried comfort, and everyone missed them both a lot. They wish that they visited more, but while they're celebrating, the elf would continue to rage. To them, none of this is fair, obviously. Like, they've been wronged, but they can't even get revenge? Like, that's bullshit. His bloodlust reminds everyone that this isn't the time to be messing around. And asks, you figure out anything? No, have you ever tried splitting two souls apart? But there's gotta be a way. I feel like I'm missing something. Just something really small. His grimoire then suddenly shines, and it alerts everyone. As he looks up to it, it flips to a new page, and a new spell is inscribed. And as such, he advances forward. Vines erupt, molding into a sword shape. It then shaves away this plant texture to show a long, massive broadsword. It had a black hilt aligned with markings similar to his wings, and it was in golden color. And a blade, it was black with, golden lightnings. You know what I'm saying. And there was a blade entirely black, which erupts with a red crimson energy. He summons the magic sword Harlequin to his side and tells the guardian to hold the elf tight. As it does so, the elf asks what he's about to do, and suddenly he's stabbed in the chest. Asta, what are you doing? Just trust me, I figured it out. Slowly, the marks along the mage's face begins to shave away as the spell is literally pushed out of his body, showing itself as a rune circle behind him, which is then broken. The elf begins to disappear. And Asta does say he's sorry, but he promises that he will free him and every other elf. Now, Harlequin isn't just a sword created to destroy this specific spell. It is a piece created from Chastiful, which nullifies the effects of a spell and can deflect them as well. The source of this isn't just Asta, however. It's another entity. It's who you're thinking about. Also, whatever Asta doesn't want it to hurt won't get hurt, so that stab only affected the reincarnation spell, not the mage. The guardian then shrinks and lets him down as it disappears, and so does Harlequin. We have to go now. And he is right. Unfortunately, they really do have to leave. They're on a time crunch, so they promise to come back and visit, and everyone knows they have a duty, so they're just proud that they're doing so much, but they gotta let them go. And so, with this very short reunion, they leave with their entire village wishing them farewell. Of course, they took that night with them, and he was out cold for a while. When he awoke, though, he was filled on everything, and along the way, they sense the nearby presence of elves. Asta heads in the direction where he senses his seniors, Vanessa and Magna, and we'll go to the go somewhere else with the Coral Peacock Mage. That's the dude that got possessed. Now, as for the place where Asta is going, that's where Luck is also at. He had been possessed by an elf. He beat Vanessa and Magna pretty bad and held Magna by the neck. And yet all Magna was concerned with was his best friend being given back, and Vanessa agrees. Magna says, elf or not, it doesn't matter. The only idiot I want to fight is in there somewhere. Let him out. Vanessa says that Luck is a troublesome kid. He's like my little brother. He might be reckless, but that gives you no right to use his body this way. The elf is genuinely surprised. Humans are capable of creating bonds, it seemed, but at the same time, he denounced their ties, not willing to accept it. Because, well, if he accepts it, then that makes this whole revenge thing useless. That's when he heard a voice in his head. Then why are you crying? Hearing a voice very similar to one he had heard before, very familiar. That's what I was trying to say. Very familiar in his mind. Vanessa and Magna hear it as well, and they smile. The elf will drop Magna and looks back to see a winged boy, the very same he remembers from the memories of the body he now inhabits, and he asks why he can hear the boy inside his head. Asta lands as the floor flourishes with flora, healing his seniors in a blink with a flower garden. Because I'm very convincing. Lyra, that's your name, right? Let me ask again, why are you crying? The elf was indeed crying, though it was clear this was because of Luck screaming to get out, so he wipes his eyes in rage and swings with claws of lightning. Asta floats backwards as if gliding on air as he blows petals from his hand. They pass through Lyra and take magic with it, which then make him kneel because he literally loses all his power. He feels nothing but weakness, and he's forced to then sit straight and is stabbed through the chest. At first the bulls panic, but Asta reassures them that it's all part of his plan. As Harlequin retracts, the spell shows itself and disappears. And with it would be the last words of the elf who thanks him. Vanessa and Magna run to him, and as Luck comes to, he was crying. All he could say was that he was sorry. This is the most vulnerable that Luck has ever been. So in times like this, it helps that he remembers he has friends, and now all they do is hug him because it doesn't matter. Regardless of whatever he did, he's back to normal. And then when he's back to normal, he hits Magna because he's embarrassed, and Luck is a crash out like that. Now with this though, his magic is returned, and luckily the people who lived in this town were moved away while Magna was fighting Lyra. Vanessa made sure that no one got hurt. Then they made a beeline for the Black Bull base. But along the way, they found out that Luck still knew how to use the magic that Lyra was using, even though now he's gone. This motivates Magna to get stronger, and they'll argue a little bit, but that's typical Magna Luck activity. But what they find next isn't as fun. Their base, when they found it, was completely destroyed, and they land amongst the rubble. They look for survivors, but Asta is sure there are still people here, and eventually they stumble upon the saddened Gordon, Gray, and Henry. Though they're safe, each of them is mumbling to themselves in their own weird way, and Magna asks who Henry is, as this is the first time he or anyone else, aside from Asta, has seen him. As he starts walking towards him, however, he's pulled back. What the hell, Asta? You don't want to do that. Oh, this is Mr. Gray. The Black Bull basically belongs to him, basically. He's also the holder of a strong curse, which saps the magic of anyone near him. Well, except for me. When Luck asks why he doesn't get affected, his answer is that he said so, and that's enough for Luck, but Magna shouts that that literally shouldn't be enough. Like, bruh, why are you giving up so early? Anyway, he also said that sometimes Asta just really made no sense, which is pretty typical by this point. Now, by reading the minds of their less vocal members, Asta was able to see what happened and explain it to the others. Ghost 2 was affected by the reincarnation spell and wreaked havoc before flying away. But before that happened, though, they were attacked by 3 people. Now, Charmy then, she arrives. She's kind of pissed because her garden was ruined, and she is a foodie. She is not amused. Everyone is able to, motivate her by saying that the elves did it, and just like that, the elves were made an enemy of someone who you really shouldn't have an enemy. Like, you don't want someone like Charmy chasing after you because you fucked with their food. That is a terrifying sight. Anyway, with her magic, she gives them food, which gives them back their magic if they lost any, allowing Henry to rebuild the base as a charging bull heading towards the capital. With a dwarf chef, a lethargic fairy, a delinquent, a battle junkie, an anxiety-ridden girl, a drunk witch, a gloomy introvert, and a slow-talking landlord, they would go to save the capital as, honestly, possibly the weirdest group of people you want helping you. And they would pick up any other members that have been taken. That's their goal, at least. Before they reach the capital, though, they slowly near Cairo, the biggest town in the Forsaken Realm, and within it, Luck and Asta sends 3 elves. Some magic knights were there and they failed to stop the elves. But with his looking glass spell in the cockpit, Asta was able to show an up close view of the destruction wrought by these creatures in front of everyone. There were people trapped in ice, buried under rocks, bleeding out. And that's honestly really motivating to see, because now you really got to get these people out of there. And there's no point of holding back against these people, especially since Asta is here and he can take care of them. Now going to the center of the town, we see 3 elves hovering above all as the magic knights wondered if this was the end for the Clover Kingdom. But that's when they sense Asta. Whether it be crying children or adults, all begin to see flowers spread and a tree begins to rise, nearly hitting the elves, who move aside. As they watch it sprout and all of this come to life, this immense magic left them speechless. It was comparable to their own, and maybe even higher. And just then, they noticed the black bull charging up, coming over, running. And one of them created a massive wall to stop them. One of the Magic Knight's presence says that he was there when the Diamond Kingdom attacked, and he could never mistake this mana signature or spell for anyone else. It's him, Asta of the Black Bulls. As the mage said this, the bull formation smashes through the wall easily, and flying out in front of it will be Asta, who comes to a stop while the bull continues ahead, swinging with its massive fist. While it attacked the elves, Asta's vines by this point and by his will would move about and remove anybody from the situation that shouldn't be there, obviously. And they noticed this beautiful tree was healing them and even feeding them magic. Like before, Asta's very presence gave the bulls credit. Because his magic was so overwhelming, the bulls gained accolades and were continuing to, especially in this moment. While the vines continue to work, Asta in a flash appears in front of one of the elves, whipping out his Harlequin and thrusting, stabbing through the elf, saying that he hoped the man would rest in peace. The 2 others, enraged by this act, would release massive waves of water and a trail of rocks at him, respectively. As he snaps, the Guardian would suddenly appear, swinging its hands aside as if swatting a fly and completely countering these spells, and they then roared. Its shout once again shook the air, and they were sent flying. They're disoriented, and suddenly Luck appeared and leaped from the bull formation, catching Harlequin, which Asta had thrown, and moving as if lightning its spell, Luck cut the water female mage and canceled the spell, while Asta creates another Harlequin and stabbed the other. Oh yeah, Asta can create multiple of these. It's a really broken spell, in hindsight, honestly. I shouldn't have made it so OP. Anyway, as he canceled the spell, the falling mage will be caught by his telekinesis, and he overlooks the town and uses his outer voice, saying the following: "You can calm yourselves, the bulls have arrived." When you see something like that, experience something like that, you're bound to feel like you're watching history being made. And they all cheer for the bulls, and they quickly held up their promise to help, even if, they honestly didn't have to, because most people were kind of disrespecting the bulls up to this point. They owe them nothing, but they're good people, so they will. Now, the ice that might have trapped anyone was melted, and the boulders were removed or turned to flowers because of gray. After they helped, they were then readying to leave because they really do gotta move on. And they wished that they could do more, but Asta hoped that his spirit tree, which was still here, would provide more than enough magic for the knights who were still present to help out. Near the Black Bull formation where they all gathered, suddenly a very familiar portal opened. Asta looks back, as do the other bulls, and from it fell Rades, Sally, and Valtos. They looked disheveled, and they came here to bargain about teaming up for revenge. Well, mostly Rades came. He was a seething entity. Asta obviously didn't let that slide, and he does not. Why the hell would he trust these people? Like, they literally experimented with kids. Why the hell would he just trust them? Anyway, even though he doesn't trust them, he allows for Sally and Valtos to say what they wanted, because Rades just kept shouting and shit, and they were just quiet. And it seemed that mostly out of the 3 of them, only Rades was really moved by vengeance. Sally is honestly just happy to be alive again and that she can experiment. And Valtos wants to hear the truth from Licht, because he did hear the truth, but he wants to confirm that the person that he's been chasing, the person he's been calling his master this entire time, the person he's been working for, is not just an absolute monster. There has to be more to this. Eventually, they join the bulls in their endeavor because Asta thinks that they need all the help they could get. Even Rades, yes, but honestly, it's a more like a, if you do something stupid or try to kill people, we kill you. And By we, I mean Asta, will literally snap their necks. He said that to them. Yeah, this version of Asta don't give a fuck. Now, thanks to Asta's looking glass ability, spell, which can also transport people, they arrive in an instant through the Black Bull formation, and they land in this mound of rubble, and only a shell of what the capital used to be remained. The citizens looked on shocked when the bull arrived, though. Actually, they almost get scared. If Asta didn't, fly out to reassure them, they would be even more terrified because they thought that more people were coming to kill them. And with this, his presence being here, it really does alleviate whatever fear people were feeling, and he raises the spirit tree and begins to heal anyone that's nearby. But that's when he feels something peculiar, and he begins to smile. Captain Forgolion. Meanwhile, at the Crimson Knight headquarters, Merleona arrives on the scene, and she felt his magic as well. She lands atop a roof, and she sees the rejoicing Crimson Knights. Then they see her. Most notably, Forgolion sees her, who now had the spirit of flames, Salamander. Big sister, how good of you to join us. She would land and walk over with her ever fiery attitude, and though she won't show it, she's clearly glad that he's back. Took you long enough. I apologize. It seems Salamander has chosen me. Without it, I wouldn't have returned. Suddenly, then they all feel a familiar force, and Leopold would then point up. Look, that spell. It's Asta. He's here. Forgolion is left speechless by the sheer power he senses. To think the boy had grown so much stronger since then, his power is even stronger than his own. I've missed quite a lot, haven't I? And obviously the knights are like, yeah, bro, you've been out cold, bro. You've been for a minute. They don't actually say it that way, but you know what I'm saying. So the Black Bull formation, quickly as it arrived, also dashed towards the biggest gathering of mana, which is being used to open the gate to the underworld. Seriously, why the hell did they think that was a good idea? I don't know why they did that. Anyway, by gathering their strongest, the elves lined up atop the magic rune formation that's on top of the gravito belt. And while everyone is greeting each other and the elves are getting to know each other again because it had been literally 500 years, they're saying hi. And Paltry sees Licht during this and calls out to him, but he still remains emotionless. Raya calls out to him saying that something had gone wrong a bit, but he should be back soon. But right now, Licht is more like a shell just acting on instinct. Then they activate their spell, creating a gate to the underworld. And down below, we see Jack, Yami, Noel, Zora, Kirsch, and Mimosa. From the hole which Asta and the others were blasted through from the last battle, elves now wearing their traditional white robes would descend using angel-like wings as a result of the possessed Pulley, who's from the Blue Rose. That's her magic. And they're just going to attack them because obviously these humans are trying to get in their way. The possessed Klaus shouts that they will not let them slow this operation down. Jack, being the ever so ready psycho, didn't care. I just wanted to start fighting. And Yami is more so annoyed, but he'll fight anyway. Noel and the others aren't so confident. They're not captain level, and these elves are a little too strong. Noel, even with her new unlocked Valkyrie spell, by the way, can't even manage to fight against one of them. It's kind of tough. However, that's when the Black Bull formation charges in, swinging and throwing the elves into the air, and the bulls would shout announcing their arrival. Paltry sees them and sees as even now the bulls were the ones getting in their way. Like, why the hell are this specific group of people just ruining their plans? The bulls apologize for being late, and Yami couldn't help but laugh at these crazy idiots. Like, bro, you pulled up in a mecha bull. That is some crazy ass shit. And Jack finds himself looking at this mechanical cow. He's like just thinking about how weird and weirder today is getting. Asta then flies out, complimenting Noel's new form, and she tells him to shut up. But the elves who were knocked away then return with a vengeance. They fly back towards the group about to attack, but this bull isn't just for show. By using Luck's acute sense for mana, they fire a cannon blast containing different attributes that the bulls have. And with Vanessa's feat, evasion, even if the elves are fast, by using these cannons and Luck's sense of mana, they can accurately fire and home on them no matter what. And with Vanessa's fate evasion, all attacks against them are useless. And with Asta's disaster, each hit from these cannons or any attack feels 100 times worse. While the bull would barely feel any damage, they dispatched the elves very quickly in return. This wasn't over though, and Asta unveils the Harlequin. The sword would split and fire, piercing the elves as it destroys the spells of reincarnation. The marks fade, and the presence of the elves fade as well within the nights. When they begin to fall, they're caught and brought down before Yami and the others. Asta then rises higher and higher, coming face to face with the apostles of Sephiroth. These are the people that are set up on the circle to activate the gate of the underworld spell again. I don't know why the hell these idiots thought that making a spell called Gate of the Underworld was a safe idea. It's so fucking dumb. Anyway, at this point, it felt as though Asta was just fated to get in their way. I mean, he created a spell which allowed him to destroy the very spell they made for this whole occasion. It's kind of annoying, low-key. Paltry was the most enraged because he's been beaten by this kid multiple times at this point. But the humans marvel at Asta, who had just chimed in here and changed the tide of battle just by showing up. Everyone realizes, like the others, that for the bulls to win, or for anyone to win, they needed him. With the variant that Asta had brought into battle, the elves know as well that he must be destroyed. This is when the elf known as Reve, now possessing the Captain Dorothy, would fly towards Asta, saying that she would handle this. She comes face to face with the boy, remarking at his wings, like most had at this point. A fairy, huh? At this point, it doesn't matter. You realize you're in my range, right? Swords of Harlequin surround the elf and are about to stab her. She smiles, saying that he was always within her range to begin with. In a flash, she and him disappeared when she released her magic. No magic presence, just nothing. And Paltry, along with the possessed Ghosh, used a combo spell creating massive mirrors surrounding the bull formation and our other knights before they could even react. However, what seemed like a crack would occur in the middle of just like in the air. Space would warp and then be unraveled from the point which Asta and the elf had disappeared, and they reappear. Dorothy was punctured by Harlequin, and the elves were just left in horror, not for just their comrades, but because Asta easily overcame the dream world. In dream world, by the way, Dorothy's word is law. Who the hell is this kid? Asta moves, leaving after images in his path, and he reappears before Ghosh and the possessed Marie, both of them already being punctured by Harlequin. We're on a roll right now. You're not stopping us. Give me back my friends. The other apostles retreat into the gate immediately. Like, bruh, hell nah. They use a teleportation spell because Asta's way too fast for them to fly away. And Raya was the one who made this because like he knows how fast this kid is. Asta had grown not only powerful enough to interfere with their plans, but break the reincarnation spell and also possibly warp reality. This is getting scary for them. They had to leave. They plunge into the castle, they disappear, and Yami and Jack say that they'll go in first. And for now, they should just, recuperate and join them later because the bulls have been fighting for a little bit longer. They should take a little break before they join. And they gotta, get Ghosh. A while later, Ghosh would wake up and he's happy Marie is safe, but he doesn't get the bulls at this point. Like, he doesn't know why they saved him. I don't know why either. He says that he doesn't care about them, like legitimately, and he'd abandon them in a heartbeat for Marie. But obviously they don't care. Asta says, I mean, you are unbearably annoying. That is true. And the others agree without even missing a beat. Like, bro, he is annoying in multiple. Goshi is really fucking annoying. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's more bearable now, but holy. Anyway, because they say these things so casually, it makes him even more confused. He wants to know why they would even save him then. In the end, the bulls just care about him because they're saving family. You're not supposed to always like family. You're supposed to be there. And in the end, Ghosh has to admit that he is thankful, though he's a little bit embarrassed about it. Like, grow the hell up, bro. Then they group hug him, which of course he hates, but they don't care. What he wants doesn't matter right now. And Marie is very happy for him. Her little brother, not little, her big brother. Her big brother finally got some emotions. It's been about time, you know what I'm saying? But I will end this here because my voice is going to die. Yeah, I'm not even going to sugarcoat this, bruh. I was in a lot of pain during this video, and I had to stop it multiple times. I thought I got better. It seems that I did not. Matter of fact, the sickness came back with a vengeance, but I pushed through and tried my best to make this video. I hope my voice isn't too nasally. I know you'll kind of hear it. It's kind of hard to not notice. And if you don't, well, I applaud you, but also maybe you should get your ears checked. But once again, thank you for being so patient. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe if you like the channel, and like and etc. But I just really hope you like the story and how it's processing itself so far. Take care of yourselves. Don't get sick like me. And peace. I'm gone.